Yesterday was interesting.
Yesterday was a lot of fun.
Got a great show for you today. We got the call lines open at 7:15 a.m. Central, 8:15 a.m. Eastern. I want to get to those quick today so we can get more people in. The line doesn't get jammed. Going to break down everything in the college football world, but the secret's out. Man, that was hard to keep.
I can't believe we kept that secret, man.
We did well. I know. We did well.
I think we did well.
And we're gonna show you we made a movie we're very excited about. We're gonna show the trailer. Went viral yesterday. We're overwhelmed with the response that it's gotten, and we can't wait for you guys to see it. But we got a lot of football to talk about as well. Washington and Oregon are going to meet for the final Pac-12 championship game. The Panthers fire head coach Frank Reich in his first year, and we're breaking down our best bets for college football's championship week. I'm Jake Crain, and welcome to Crain & Company. Now, there's a new phenomenon or two huge words that have taken over the decision-making for college football head coaches and really football head coaches in general in every division and league. And those two words are the card. What does the card say? The card with all the analytics. You should go for it in this instant. You should kick it in this instance. In reality, I just think the card says go for it every time, but that's a story for another day. But when you look at this Washington and Oregon rematch, what's been one of the biggest differences in the past couple years when it's come to Washington playing Oregon and the outcome of the game? It's been decision-making by head coach Dan Lanning on when to go for it and when to not. And it seems that he's a lot more Evel Knievel than he is Walter Mitty. But when you're looking at a card, there's one thing we have to understand. Just like every big decision in life, instinct needs to play a part. Nuance needs to play a part. The card is useful. Yes, it is something that should be used, but it shouldn't just be blindly followed. The card can't look into the eyes of the offensive line before a 4th-and-1 play when deciding on whether or not to go for it. The card can't look at the field goal kicker before he goes out there if you're making a decision to kick a field goal that may be a little bit far out of his range, or maybe you should go for it. And most importantly, the card is not going to get fired if the decision goes wrong. The card will always be there. There is that human element. There is that human instinct. There is that nuance that goes into head coaches making the right decision based on their personnel and how their team is in that moment. Jeff Traylor from UTSA said he doesn't use the card. He goes off natural feel and instinct. And my advice to Dan Lanning, who is balling, and he can do it his way, is that maybe in this third game against Washington, when you have a team that's balanced, that plays complementary football on offense, defense, and special teams, maybe the most drastic option, or the card, isn't your best option. Bring in my co-host, former Michigan quarterback David Cohn, my brother, former Western State Colorado wide receiver Blaine Crain. Guys, listen, I understand that analytics is important, but when you look at what comes down to deciding whether we go for it, whether we don't go for it, the person who ends up paying the price if it's wrong is the head coach. And the card doesn't always know the circumstance or what your team does best, right? You look at 4th-and-1 instances, if you're a team that may be defensive heavy, right? Maybe a different situation than if you're a Michigan team that can line up on 4th-and-2 and just smush it down somebody's throat. So I think Dan Lanning's decision-making is one of the keys in Oregon being able to beat Washington finally after having lost 2 straight.
Yeah, and so it's so often that we decide whether or not a decision was good or not based off if it's
hindsight's always
successful, right? So in that game you're talking about where Oregon goes on the road and plays an undefeated Washington team, if Dan Lanning is super aggressive and all that works out, then we're talking about what a great coach he is and the great decision making that he executed there, and it just didn't work out for him. But we've been talking about this as a possible rematch for the entire season, Oregon and Washington, and the consensus around the country is that no doubt Oregon is going to win the football game, right? And I'm sitting here looking at the line right now. minus 9.5 for Oregon. And I'm having trouble wrapping my brain around it because Washington has done every single thing that has been asked of them. I mean, this is an undefeated Power 5 team. The job that Kalen DeBoer and this coaching staff out there has done has been truly extraordinary. And I think they're the most disrespected football team in the country, this Washington team. Really.
Yeah.
I mean, when the Philadelphia Eagles win an ugly game, we congratulate them and say, man, they know how to win ugly games. Or when Georgia does it, or when Alabama does it, we say, hey, man, they're scrappy and they figure out ways to win. They know how to win at the end of games. But somehow when Washington does it, we just talk about how it's inevitable that they lose to Oregon at the end of the season. Now, I see what everyone else is seeing, right? Like, I'm watching the football games. I understand that they've been, they've played worse football in the back half of the stretch since they beat Oregon, and that's not a good thing. You want to be peaking at the right time. They're not doing that. But I find the plus 9.5 on their line there a bit disrespectful, and this is still, we're going to get one of the best quarterback matchups in the country this weekend. Both these quarterbacks are going to pass for over 4,000 yards after this game is complete, and I think we should all sit there and soak it up at the end of the day.
No, and when you look at the game that was played earlier in the year when Washington won 36-33, I mean, everybody pretty much had a good game on offense. Bo Nix, 33 of 44, 337 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Michael Penix, Washington's quarterback, 22 of 37, 302 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Bucky Irving ran for 127 yards and a score. Dylan Johnson ran for 100 yards and a score. So it was about as even as it could be. If you remember watching that game, it really came down to the last possession. And that's why, David, I agree with you 100%. Why would I not just buy this up to 10.5 and take Washington right now? Not only that, I'd probably sprinkle some on the money line.
It may go to that by itself.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying that I'm picking Washington to win this game yet, but this game is about as even as it possibly has been. And yeah, Washington hasn't played their best over the back half, right? They've kind of played down to their competition, but they've done what they've needed to do to get back to this point. And they do have Oregon's number somewhat. Now, Blaine, when I look at this game too, we can sit here and say it's going to come down to a one-score game. It's going to come down to a one-score game. Special teams is obviously going to be massive. But when you look at the Heisman, this has huge implications. Now, I think Jaden Daniels, in my opinion, should win it. But if we're going to talk about if you're a Heisman voter and you're looking to make a decision, it may come down to who makes the last play in this Oregon-Washington game between Bo Nix and Michael Penix, because I don't know how you look at the Heisman and don't think the top 3 in some order is Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, and obviously Michael Penix.
Yeah, I think this will be the battle for second place when it comes to the Heisman. I don't think any of these guys can put up the numbers to pass Jaden Daniels to win the Heisman. Now, I went over this yesterday, and I've been doing this for multiple weeks. What Jaden Daniels is doing this year, you turn on college football every Saturday, and who's the best player?
It's Jaden Daniels.
It's Jaden Daniels, and it's obvious. You can roll through the stats. Trust me, I showed a sheet to David yesterday that it's not even close. It's not. Look, I'm a big Bo Nix guy. I love Michael Penix too. I'm glad Bo found somewhere where he can be comfortable and succeed, and that's what he's doing. And if Jaden Daniels, any other year, if Jaden Daniels wasn't putting up these numbers, Bo Nix would probably win the Heisman.
I think you're right.
But what he is doing right now at LSU, it would be a travesty. It would be a mockery of football if Jaden Daniels didn't win the Heisman. But back to this game, I agree with both of you. I think this spread is way too much. 9.5 is a joke to me. Because look, I mean, at the end of the day, what is your job to do on Saturday? It's got to win a football game. Doesn't matter how you win it. It's about winning it. Georgia didn't look great against Georgia Tech at all. So, I mean, you can find little nuances to get at teams and say, well, they do this, well, they do that. Well, great teams know how to do what?
Win.
That's win in multiple ways. And that's what Washington's doing. If you go back to this game for Oregon and Washington, the first time they played, I mean, and you kind of look at the stats, everything checked off for Oregon to win this football game. Mm-hmm. Everything. The only thing you didn't, you went 0 for 3 on 4th down. I mean, you had almost 10 plus more minutes in time of possession. You controlled the ground with Bucky Irving. But Michael Penix, there's something about this Washington team, man. And we kind of went back to when we talked about Auburn, Alabama. Washington knows how to win, right? And they know how to win big games. I think Oregon does too, but Dan will make a certain decision in this game that might cost them just like it did in the first time. So it's not only going to be a battle of players, it's going to be a battle of coaches.
Yeah, and
that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, and I agree. It's amazing. We look at Alabama barely beating Auburn. We're like, oh, it's a rivalry game. That's just, you survive it. And I agree with that. You look at Georgia beating Georgia Tech by a touchdown. Oh, it's a rivalry game. You knew it was going to be close. But you look at Washington playing a Washington State team in the Apple Cup, which is a big-time rivalry game. You look at what's happening next year with conference realignment and things like that, and people are like, oh, well, just Washington must not be that good. You've got to be able, especially in the year where the Pac-12 you can make the argument, has been the best conference in college football. You damn well better give that game some credence and say, oh, that's a rivalry game. It can be close too. So kind of the hypocrisy of that has not shocked me a little bit, but it's something that needs to be talked about. But when you come back, David, to what you're talking about, the decision making and, if it works out for Dan Lanning, great. If this was a one-time thing, I totally understand. I'm with you 100%. But 2 times ago when they played Washington, they went for it on 4th and 2 from their own 30. Ended up giving the ball back to Washington, who was able to salt the game away that way. So, I would rather err on the side of being aggressive, but I would also err on the side of having some balance when it comes to decision making. I'm not just going to hit the eject button or pick the most drastic option every time that there's any sort of situation where you may think about going for it. I think there's some balance and nuance, but at the end of the day, is this game, before we move on, is this going to be the best conference championship game of the weekend?
Yeah, it should be. And I'm a little bit surprised that the line is like that. I mean, look, anytime Georgia and Alabama play, you're in for an epic showdown. So I think all eyes are going to be on the SEC championship game. And look, that may be the de facto national championship game once again because both of those programs are so elite. But this one, given that we had seen a matchup earlier in the season, and it's one of those that we said that's a potential rematch, that's going to make it a lot of fun. Yeah. We thought the same thing about Texas and Oklahoma. We're not going to get that. We're going to get Texas and Oklahoma State.
Almost got it.
We almost got it. But this is one of those ones where it's like, okay, now we get a rematch on a neutral site. And it's tough to beat a football team twice in the same season.
Is.
In this sport, it's tough. It's especially tough to beat a good football team twice in the same season. So I understand people picking Oregon, and I understand the way that Oregon has looked the past few weeks. Really just one of the most balanced and solid football teams in the country. I'm just saying there's a reason that Washington is undefeated.
I agree.
I think we're in for an epic showdown.
No, without a doubt. These lines are crazy in a year where we've had so much college football parity in the conference championships. Let's just look at the Power 5 ones. Michigan and Iowa. It's a 23-point spread. But I agree with that. And we're going to dive into that later.
Pick 'em.
Yeah, Louisville and Florida State. I'd be interested to see this game if Jordan Travis was playing. When you look at Georgia and Bama, that's a 6-point spread. That's bigger than what I thought it would be. When you look at Texas and Oklahoma State, that one's at 15. Oregon and Washington are at 9.5. Vegas isn't expecting there to be a ton of close games during this conference championship week, or at least as close as what we thought. But we want to know what you think. Who should win the Heisman? Which conference championship game will be the best? But before we get into that, we're going to get into the chat. We're going to open the lines up at 7:15. We want to show you the trailer of the movie that we're starring in. I don't know another way to put it. Lady Ballers, enjoy.
In a world where women's sports is being transformed,
Riley,
the Daily Wire calls foul with the most triggering
opening.
comedy
Danny's
of
face.
the year.
I know. That's when I knew that the trailer.
Oh,
there he goes.
Oh, it's
Get him,
poor girl.
Blake.
Oh, it's poor girl.
Blake.
I hated doing that.
Sports can be your pathway to a better life.
Well, like yours?
Please don't steal my catalytic converter again. Winning matters. It's the key
Jeremy
ingredient to
100%
becoming a
looks
winner.
like it's
Maybe
like
you should try it
perfect.
sometime. Are you gonna move?
I am not.
Let's cut to the chase. I know you're not a woman.
You don't know how he identifies.
If you can beat them,
What do you know about the U.S. Opens for the Global
This
Games?
part's
You want us to compete as winners? $5,000 prizes.
My lover says you were a great coach back in the day.
God, Matt fits that character.
This is the way the world
Perfect.
is now. My 8-year-old
Those are
daughter
his
told me all
clothes.
about it. So a guy can become
Here we
a
go,
girl
boys.
She did a
with
great
no physical
job.
changes at all.
Oh, that's called gender fluid.
So I can be a woman on the court and a man in the bedroom. I can't believe it. Nice.
You mean when you're sleeping?
Yes.
Yes.
Alex,
make that face.
play basketball.
We have to get the whole team back together.
That's the whole right there.
I'm in.
I'm in.
Lady Baldwin.
Man up.
like a girl.
I'm with her.
This is ill. The next one's ill. Yeah.
Believe in my truth. This is my
From heroes
Day one of being a girl
That's how
athlete.
that works.
I love being a girl.
Those are real
to
ways.
sheroes.
Yeah.
Oh,
We
yeah.
could dominate every woman's sport. Running, swimming, soccer. I said sport, Felix.
It's ladies basketball, boys. Nobody watches.
Excuse me. Are these seats open?
Never mind.
Getting dunked
This is a great
Talking drunk.
She didn't.
Oh, no, she did.
That's the biggest I've ever seen on a lady.
I don't care.
Lady Ballers.
The end.
The end is.
One can even be trans age now. It provides Sheelix with a wonderful opportunity to relive all the experiences that she missed out on in school.
Streaming exclusively on Daily Wire Plus December 1st.
Wow.
Oh, nice work, everyone.
Yeah. So we're celebrating the release of the Daily Wire's first ever full-length feature comedy, Lady Ballers, with a deal just for you. New Daily Wire Plus annual memberships are $50 off, but you need to hustle because this deal is available for a limited time only. Now, what's included in that? Well, I'm glad you asked. You'll get an exclusive ad-free, uncensored content from your favorite Daily Wire hosts, like us. And of course, that includes all three of us, and on-demand access to our groundbreaking entertainment and documentaries that are making a huge impact on our culture. And yes, your Daily Wire membership gets you access to Lady Ballers streaming exclusively on Daily Wire Plus Friday night.
This Friday.
December 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's Friday night, December 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern. You get everything I talked about and more with your annual Daily Wire Plus membership. And you can have it all now for $50 off. Don't miss out. Grab this incredible deal now at dailywire.com/subscribe before it disappears forever. Visit dailywire.com/subscribe now to join us in the fight to take back the culture and experience the Daily Wire like never before. Guys, I want to get to the chat. I want to get reactions of this, but it was so much fun to make this movie. And you know what? We need to get comedy back to where it needs to be. Mm-hmm. You need to be able to make fun of things. And having men and women's sports, it's unbelievably low-hanging fruit because it's so absurd that this is accepted now in reality. And I don't care who you voted for or what you think about immigration or whatever. I think we can all agree that having men and women's sports is one of the dumbest things of all time, and one of the reasons the aliens won't talk to us.
That is why they won't talk to us. And you're able to make true comedy films when you just go out and tell the truth. And I think most people agree with this issue.
I thought it was a documentary, to be honest. I didn't even know it was a comedy. I'm just learning this right now.
21st century?
Yeah, I'm learning this right now, so it's crazy. All right, let's go to get these donations. Let's go to Beats Jinx with a $5 donation. They're going to ask about it, so we might as well talk about it. Lady Ballers looks elite. It is elite, dog. Not mid like Josh Dobbs and the Vikings. Any chance the Booster Club can get on the red carpet premiere?
Listen, that's way above my pay grade. Yeah, I just show up and talk about sports and just go where they tell me. I will tell you, we got some great stuff coming out around the Lady Ballers movie, merch, and stuff like that. Just make sure you got that Daily Wire Plus membership because I'm telling you, this movie, it went viral yesterday. The trailer did. We were overwhelmed by the positive response I got because, again, I think this is like a 99% issue. If your brain works, you understand how stupid it is. And stupid is the word I use to have men playing in women's sports because it is stupid.
Let's go to Trey Bodenhammer with the $5 donation. Appreciate it, Trey. Good morning, lady men. Congrats on the movie. I can't wait to see it. So Matt Walsh can dress up as a woman, but can't go to a WNBA game.
Well, look, it's technically Matt's not dressed up like a woman. You'll see what he's very... got some Mr. Cheezel vibes.
He's in his element for sure.
He's in his element.
All right, let's go to Michael Lesko with a $10 donation. Appreciate it, Mike. Love the trailer. You are the best looking women's basketball team I have ever seen. Michael, appreciate that. It says, cannot wait to watch. Thoughts on the candidates for the Houston coaching job?
Yep. Listen, I think it should be Jeff Traylor. I know UTSA was working on a deal to kind of pin him. To me, there's a couple guys. I think Brennan Marion from UNLV should be a legitimate candidate. A lot of times, though, when you look at these Texas schools, you look at Texas Tech and Joey McGuire, right? And UTSA with Jeff Traylor, they went the ton of success as a high school coach, understands the lay of the land, understands where the players are, which is all around Texas, like Joey McGuire at Texas Tech. I think it's got to be a Texas guy. I thought they were going to give Dana at least another year to get 2 years into the Big 12, kind of see if he can't get his footing. But obviously they went ahead and pulled the trigger. I don't know if you pull the trigger if you really don't have somebody already in mind. But to me, I think I would go get Jeff Traylor.
All right, let's go to Matt. He says, I'm pretty sure until last game, the Huskies hadn't allowed a touchdown in the fourth quarter for 5 straight games.
Yeah, well, how do you win? I mean, you win in the second half. That's the difference. You either got that clutch gene or you don't. Look at Alabama and Auburn. You either finish it or you don't. Winners win. Winners find a way to win. Losers find a way to lose. And that's just the truth. And you can get mad and And you can sit here and say, oh, what blows my mind, David, is look, coaches got to defend their players, obviously. Mm-hmm. Any coach would come out and say, listen, don't bash our players or whatever. You have to do that's like a parent, right? But one of the worst things you can do to a 20-year-old, especially one that says, hey, I want in the business, so you need to pay me now through NIL, but I don't want any expectations. You can't get mad when it doesn't work out. You want to not prepare somebody for the world? Have them think they can screw up or not do their job, and then everything's just okay because you don't want anybody to be mean to them. Go do that in a sales job and watch what happens to you. Go do that as an accountant, get the numbers wrong and cost a firm or a company or a corporation money and watch what happens to you. We got to stop treating 20-year-olds, right, like they're 12-year-olds. That's one of the biggest problems with our society, and then we wonder why nobody wants to go work, everybody wants to be coddled, or people are out there spray painting works of art that are 300 years old and handcuffing themselves, throwing confetti all over stuff that matters, and we wonder why. Stop babying these children. Stop babying these young adults going on to adults. It's amazing. We can drop an 18-year-old drop him out of a plane over in Normandy to go fight the Nazis, but he drops a punt, and all of a sudden, you're the devil for calling him out on it.
I was getting yelled at without getting paid, so I'm not sure what.
Yeah, me too. Let's go to Eric Carrasco. What's up, Eric? Says the Ducks Washington going to be a 3-point game either way. Bo Nix, in my opinion, is the front runner. Oh, and go Blue, David.
Go Blue.
Yeah. Well, look, I think if Jaden Daniels doesn't win it, whoever wins this game is going to get it, unless there's just some weird circumstance or happening where one defense just takes over and makes enough plays and they're able to win the game. But like if Bo Nix leads a game-winning touchdown drive for Oregon, to get them in the playoff or win the Pac-12 championship, or Michael Penix goes out and throws for 5 touchdowns, including a game-winning touchdown drive, I would not be shocked if they gave them the Heisman Trophy.
Let's go to Helmson. Appreciate it, brother. Hashtag Ask Crain & Co. What does a now 7-5 Lincoln Riley look like a year from now, considering he likely won't have another Heisman QB and still no sign of a defense?
What happened? Y'all paid him all this money, right? You gave him the plane. You gave him the villa, right? He's hanging out right next to Meryl Streep and everybody like that. What happens? He goes 5-7 next year. What happens when you take this type of mindset that Lincoln Riley has and you go play Iowa at the end of the year in the cold, or Michigan, or Michigan State? I think this is a horrible fit for USC. I really believe it is. Not that I don't think there can be toughness out on the West Coast. The Pac-12 was perfect for him. You could be wide open. You could kind of play defense. You are going to get the new clock rule is going to have to change the way Lincoln Riley goes about some things. I'm telling you, when they go over to the Big Ten, just because the style of play is so different and the style of player is so different. What I am interested to see, though, is over time, if USC and UCLA will be more attractive to players in the Midwest who want to go out to the beach, who don't want to be there in the freezing cold temperatures, those Siberian cave trolls that we see Penn State roll out and Ohio State roll out. They want to go over and on the West Coast and hang out. That's what I'm going to find interesting. But speaking about going to the next level, it's time to take your winner style to the next level, because we all know dressing for success can help you look better and be more confident. You got to look good to play good. It's a pretty simple situation. So whether you're attending an important meeting or networking event or simply want to impress your colleagues, our friends at Indochino, they have everything you need. Business casual, dress shirts, camp shirts, blazers. Indochino offers a wide variety of options, and it's not just shirts. They have high-end suits. We've all ordered them. The ordering process is unbelievably easy. The variety of what you can get from a color and fabric standpoint is incredible, and they're going to take care of you. So add fresh layers to your winter style with Indochino. Go to Indochino.com. That's Indochino.com. Use our code BOOSTER, BOOSTER, to get 10% off any purchase of $399 or more. That's Indochino.com. Promo code BOOSTER. We're going to put the link. We got new hoodies out, Crain & Company merch. We've got some incredible merch coming out, obviously, for Lady Ballers as well. We're going to put the link in the chat. Make sure you go check that out. Supports the show. We really, really appreciate it. But let's get some more of these previews, Dave.
All right, let's do it. We got the Big Ten Championship this weekend, Michigan and Iowa. Look, we made fun of Iowa a lot throughout the season with their inability to put up a lot of points, but their defense did a good enough job to get them to 10-2. And we know Michigan 12-0 now, coming off a big win over the Buckeyes. Minus 24.5, I think you said the spread was?
Yeah, it's 23.5, 24.5.
23.5, 24. It's been wavering around there. I mean, what does Iowa have to do to be able to win this game?
Get lucky. I mean, if we're going to be honest, Michigan has to play awful on offense. You're going to have to get at least 2 turnovers, right? You're going to have to win the field position battle by a lot, and you're going to have to stop the run. Can Iowa stop the run and just say, all right, if we're going to lose this game, which we're 23.5, 24.5 point underdogs, J.J. McCarthy's going to have to throw to beat us. Because you know what Michigan's going to want to do. They're going to want to go in there and smush you, get up 10 points, get up double digits, and make Iowa try and play catch-up. This team is not built to catch up. Hell, this team isn't even built to play with the lead on offense. You're going to have to catch some breaks. And I know, David, you're going to be cautious, and I get that. Michigan's got to go play this game. You can't be looking forward to the playoff. But this is where that experience that I've talked about all year, when people are like, how do we know about Michigan? How do we know if Michigan's any good? And we sat here and said, we know who Michigan is because we've watched this core of players play for the past 2 years. This is where that loss to TCU last year ought to help you. Where you're not looking ahead, say, boys, guess what? Harbaugh's back. Last time we looked ahead, we thought we were going to be playing Georgia in the Natty or maybe Ohio State in the Natty. TCU rolled out here and found a way to beat us. So if TCU can do it, Iowa, who won the Big Ten West, as bad as it is, for sure can do it. So I'm sure Jim Harbaugh is going to utilize that. David, I just have a hard time seeing how Iowa, I'm not saying they can't score 1 touchdown. I'm not saying they may not get a pick 6 early and go up 7-0. But over time, over 4 quarters, how is Iowa going to be able to score enough points to win this game? Because as good as they are on defense, Ohio State's better on defense. And Michigan was able to score what? 30 points? Like I just don't see it. Penn
State beat this team 31-0.
That's the one ranked team they've played all year.
Yeah.
Iowa, and they got beat 31-0. There's not I'm not going to sit up here and just try to find a way that Iowa's going to get killed in this football game. It's the truth.
What is getting killed to you though? Not covering? Is it like
getting killed is you not scoring points and losing by 30.
Yeah.
Iowa's CTP is 6.5. It's 6.5.
Wow.
That's bad. That's bad. And look, Iowa, congrats on the 10-2. You've won a lot of close games, but again, you're not playing Illinois.
Yeah.
All right. You're not about to play Northwestern. Okay. You're about to play a deep, strong, fast, pissed off, doesn't care. Get off the plane, walk to your face, punch you in the face. Someone has to pull you off. You Michigan. It's Michigan versus the world right now. That's what it is. Great year, Iowa. This game is over before it started.
I agree that Michigan could play a bad football game and still figure out a way to win this game. It was sort of how we talked about Alabama going on the road to Kentucky after that big win that they had over LSU. They could play a bad football game and still win. I do agree with that. One thing I get worried about, though, is a team coming off what I see as the biggest win in program history last weekend, right? You really had to have that one, especially with all the allegations that have gone on the past 5 weeks. And then your mindset immediately goes to, okay, what's been our biggest problem the last couple of years? The playoff, right? So you've gone from this game this past weekend to thinking about, okay, who are we automatically going to play in the college football playoff? And are we going to, blow it again this year like we did against TCU or get blown out if we have to play at Georgia? And there's a championship game in the middle against a team with a good defense. The defense travels, who, really wants to win this game and is going to give you their best game possible. That's the only thing I get worried about.
I just think, what helps with that? Getting your head coach back. That's what helps with that. I mean, if anything, getting your head coach back after a 3-game suspension is going to make you focus more on this game because he is going to make you focus more because you're going to listen to him a little bit more this week, right? Because you're missing him around, right? Especially on the sideline. So I just don't see a Michigan team, even if Michigan overlooked this game, they probably could still cover.
Well, if I'm a Michigan fan, the one thing I'm worried about, I hate to even put this out there, but it's true, it's injuries.
Injuries, yeah.
It's don't let J.J. McCarthy, something happen to him in this game.
Though that's part of what I'm saying.
That.
I mean, J.J.'s not fully.
Look at Jordan Travis against North Alabama.
I know.
Dog.
I know. And you're going to be missing Zach Zinter at right guard. You're going to have to fill that piece. Who knows if Will Johnson, your best defensive back, is going to be able to go this week coming off the injury. You don't want to get guys injured who are banged up more injured, but you don't want to get new guys injured either. Is any part of that going to come into play? That's how I felt Michigan was playing against Maryland the week before they played the Buckeyes, and I understood it. And it was a great example of, hey, we cannot play our best game and still win. That came down to a drive, though.
It did, but Maryland's got a lot more pieces on offense than Iowa. I mean, Maryland's got some cats running around there on the outside that are Iowa just doesn't have that. They got a bunch of guys named Trevor and Noah running around. Let's just be honest. So when I look at this over-under, though, 35.5, can Michigan score 36 points?
I like the
over. Or can they score 33 and Iowa kicks a field goal?
But the over/under in this game, a lot of it comes down to, does a defense score? Does Michigan score on defense, right? Does the pick six happen? Does a scoop and score happen? That's what hits the overs in this game, I think. Because I do think Iowa is going to somewhat play good defense. I do. I mean, that's their staple of who they are. But sooner or later, it's like gravity, right? It's an anaconda. They're going to squeeze you. Michigan will squeeze you the entire game until you're looking up, it's halfway through the third quarter, and they're averaging 6.5 yards on the ground.
Yeah, with that.
All right, let's move on to the Big 12 championship. This will be the last edition of this game that involves Texas and Oklahoma before they leave the conference going to the SEC. Texas is in the Big 12 championship game. We thought we might get that Red River shootout rematch. It's going to be Texas and Oklahoma State, though. Oklahoma State 9-3. I mean, look, after the loss to South Alabama, what was it, 33-7 or something? Really came on strong. Ollie Gordon, one of the best running backs in the country. Texas been able to hold on. They're 11-1, even won games without Quinn Ewers down the stretch. Are they going to win this game and make it into the college football playoff?
Right now, obviously, you look at that 15-point spread. It's hard not to pick Texas after where their defense just played against Texas Tech, right? And you look at Oklahoma State. I know Bowman's been better, but this still is not an offense that relies on being able to throw the ball all over the field to move it. With Ollie Gordon, I mean, he had 5 touchdowns against BYU. Don't forget, it wasn't just a loss to South Alabama. They went on that hot streak. They lost to South Alabama, then lost at Iowa State, then they beat Kansas State, Kansas, West Virginia, Cincinnati, Oklahoma, then got drugged by UCF. Not just beat. They got beat 45-3. You end up beating Houston 43-30, BYU 40-34. You've given up over 30 points in the past 2 games, all right? And Houston and BYU's offenses aren't exactly the most high-flying or high-powered in the country. So you look at this Texas team. I know they don't have Jonathan Brooks, but they've got guys that can compete at running back. We've seen that. They're good enough up front. We know what they are on the outside with Xavier Worthy and I can go to A.D. Mitchell and those guys. I don't see a way in which Oklahoma State stops Texas enough in this game. I think Oklahoma State will score a little bit, right? I think they're going to get up for this one. I like them to cover the plus 15. I don't know how I don't take Oklahoma State. Or to be honest with you, we're sitting here on a Tuesday. All this thing's been doing is getting bet up. Like Texas, it was like plus 12.5. I looked at this plus 15 this morning. I would let that thing keep riding. Can it get to 17.5? If it gets to 17.5, I'm going to jump all over it like Augustus Gloop in a chocolate river, David. Like it's not even going to be close. I think Oklahoma State is too much of a one-trick pony. I just think they're a one-trick pony. And Texas is good enough, especially coming off of last week, in which you should have some momentum on defense after kind of regressing back to what they were in the past. I just feel like Texas wins this game by 10 to 13 points. I think Quinn Ewers looks healthier. Texas is able to score.
Well, I think styles make fights, right? That's what I think. And Oklahoma State wants to do what? Oklahoma State wants to run the football. They want to run it some more, and they want to run it again. I think Texas has one of the best front sevens in college football, and they've proved that throughout the year, stopping the run. And if you look at Oklahoma State the last 2 weeks, it's somewhat worrisome, right? You're walking in down 24-6 against BYU at home, right? And if you do that against this Texas team, you're not built like that to come back.
Yeah, you're dead.
This Texas team. And I think Texas needed last week, all right? After the couple weeks before, the way they've been playing, they needed a breakout game, especially against your rival in Texas Tech. Quinn looks good. The defense looks good. I'm actually leaning the opposite way. I like Texas to cover this spread. I really do. I don't think Oklahoma State is built to beat this Texas team with the talent they have on the outside. They're coming along on the offensive line and the way they can stop the run. So that's going to get Oklahoma State in 3rd and 5 and plus. And that's a place you do not want to live in against Texas. I think Sark's going to have these boys ready to play. I think Texas covers in this game, and I do think this gets them in the playoffs.
It's interesting to see Texas back in this game after 10 years. They hadn't won the conference. You know, when Steve Sarkisian first got there, he identified a cultural problem. Remember, we saw some arguing back and forth on buses back home from games. He fixed that cultural problem, combined with he's already a great offensive play caller, and he got the right personnel in. Steve Sarkisian here, multiple years under his belt, really has his program in the right direction.
How happy do you think Brett Yormark and them were that Oklahoma State came back and beat BYU?
Can
you imagine after all that was said, too? You remember Brett Yormark, I hope Texas Tech beats Texas, whatever. If they would have had Texas and Oklahoma, the 2 teams that are leaving you for a better-looking girl in the SEC, in their last year playing for the Big 12 championship, there wouldn't have been a lot of smiles and friendship at that game from an administrative wing of the Big 12. But it just feels like a backdoor cover to me. Feels like Texas is up by 17 late. that Oklahoma State kicks a field goal or something to get it within 2 scores. It just
Ollie Gordon
feels
springs
like
one.
a backdoor cover to me. It really would. I'm interested to see how high it gets bet up. But speaking about betting, all right, if you're betting on your skin to look good, our friends over at Genucel Skincare, we got you covered like a warm blanket in the wintertime. And it's a holiday gift idea that's sure to make you the hero of the season. Men, this is an easy W. An easy dub. And guess what? It's skincare for men and women. So women out there, I mean, if your man is down to take care of his skin, which I hope he is, this is a win for you as well. Now, we all know the holidays can be hectic with the shopping, the cooking, the never-ending list of things to do. But fear not, because we've discovered a gift that's not just thoughtful, it's downright transformative, David. That's why David's skin is just absolutely glowing every day. They think he's like some
I played a girl.
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
Yeah, she did.
We've been saying that forever.
And she called us extras.
She said, this dude, did she?
Yeah.
She called us extras?
She said, this dude looks like Elon Musk. I said, this dude has a name, and it's Walmart Elon Musk.
Somebody called you Wall Musk. That was hilarious.
I love it.
It's efficient, like a Tesla. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, but from now until Christmas, Genucel's most popular package has a special discount just for our listeners at Genucel.com/booster. That's GENUCEL.com/booster to get this incredible holiday discount. Every order today is instantly upgraded to free express shipping. That's Genucel.com/booster. Check it out today. Quickly to the Booster Club.
Let's go to Dom. #Ask Crain. Thoughts on the Boise State versus UNLV game?
Man, big for Spencer Danielson. We had Cade from Idaho call in yesterday and talk about, hey, man, ever since Avalos is gone, you look around the table, you don't get the joke. It's probably about you. Boise State's been better. Now, this matchup with UNLV, they run that go-go offense. We've talked about Brendan Marion before. I think the spread was at 2.5 the last time I saw it. For Boise. I like Boise this weekend. I think Boise's a more complete team. I think they'll be able to do what they want against UNLV's defense. UNLV will score with that style of offense, but I think they'll find a way at the end. Could it be a walk-off field goal to cover the -2.5 for Boise? Possibly. But I do like the Broncos to be able to find a way to win this.
The fact UNLV's even in this position.
Oh, I know.
Barry Odom's 9 wins, and that includes a game. They played Michigan on the road, right? Like they could be a 10-win.
Not enough people are talking about Barry Odom.
They were as bad as it got a couple seasons ago.
I agree.
All right, let's go to Christina. She wants to know, how can Ohio State, what needs to happen this weekend for Ohio State to find their way into the playoffs?
It's a great question.
Look, I mean, it's a very narrow window. You need Texas to lose.
Yep.
Florida State.
Texas and Florida State have
to lose.
Washington has to lose.
Yeah.
And then what I think is you need Georgia to win.
You do need, but like if you need Georgia to win, don't you need Washington to win too? Because if Washington wins and Georgia wins, that gives Oregon 2 losses.
Michigan.
That gives that gives Alabama 2 losses. Right, so Georgia and Washington are in.
Should we just take Michigan losing off the table? Or, I mean, if we're going to say...
Ohio State's not going to get in head-to-head over Michigan.
Yeah, so Michigan's in that spot.
Michigan's in that spot. So let's say Michigan, Georgia, and Washington all win. They're all undefeated. Florida State loses.
Out.
Right? Bama loses. They're out. And Oregon loses. That's 2 losses. They're out. Louisville has 2 losses. Right? That's the only way. Texas has to lose.
Yeah, and that's why, you want to go ahead and yield the SEC championship to an undefeated team.
Yep.
You don't want to be sitting there trying to
Pac-12.
argue 1 loss against Georgia with 1 loss, and Alabama has 1 loss. The Pac-12 is a little more interesting because I think at least the Buckeyes could make a case against a 1-loss Washington team. But yeah, I think you're right. If Washington goes ahead and wins out, then you give 2 spots to undefeated teams. No, 3 spots to undefeated teams. Maybe you could slide in as 1 loss.
Well, if you're Ohio State, you have the better loss than Washington if they were to lose that game.
Well, that is true. It's just how Oregon is in front of Ohio State right now. So if Washington needs to win, if Washington beats Oregon, Michigan wins and Georgia wins, and it comes down to that 4th spot, and Florida State loses, FSU is out. They're not putting them in with 1 loss, even with Jordan Travis, let alone without him. If Texas loses, that's 2 losses. They're out. Bama loses, that's 2 losses. That's the way.
Yeah.
That's it right there.
And obviously the argument will be, well, we had to play an extra week in a conference championship game, and that's where we lost, if you're talking about like a Washington or a Florida State, something like that. But we've seen it. We saw them do it last year.
Yeah.
They backdoored their way
without a doubt.
Championship.
Let's go to Ethan. #Ask Crain. What's up, E? Deion Sanders' final 2 wins were CU and USF. We all know how about Colorado ended, but USF is now going bowling. Go Bulls at 6-6, and CU is 4-8, sitting on the couch. did he make the right choice?
Yeah, you quadrupled your win total. Or Colorado won this year within the first 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But they really did. You were playing with house money from there on out. Now, you had some people that came out, the RG3s, that are like, Colorado's going to win the Pac-12. Oh, my God, they beat Nebraska. No, you must not watch college football. Anybody who watched Colorado realized how bad they were up front, and this fairy tale was going to end eventually. What made the fairy tale was that they were winning early. They were finding ways to win games despite their deficiencies. Now, they were playing against some teams that were pretty deficient, and we saw that down the stretch. But also, shout out to Golish and USF coming over from Tennessee in his first year, taking them bowling. Very, very impressive with what they have. Almost beat Alabama. You remember that game early in the year when obviously it was topsy-turvy at Bama? But no, look, Colorado, I'd be more worried. I'm not worried about recruiting with Deion Sanders. They have had some decommitments here lately. When you look at the recruiting class, it's not as shiny as it was earlier. But to me, Colorado won this season pretty early. All right, David, let's get to best bets before we get to phone calls and NFL.
Okay, so you want to go to best bets before NFL?
What your dealer's choice, baby. You tell me. You want to go NFL? You want to go best bets?
Yeah, we'll go to the NFL because we got some news here. The Carolina Panthers have fired head coach Frank Reich. So that's 2 straight seasons they fired a first-year head coach, and that's 2 straight years Frank Reich has been fired with the Indianapolis Colts last year and now with the Panthers. And it was Matt Rule getting fired last year before the end of the season. So, what do you think about the Panthers owner's David Tepper's decision here to move off of 2 coaches in 2 years?
I don't really understand it. I don't know how we're supposed to sit here and say, all right, Bryce Young gets a pass as a rookie because he doesn't have good players around him, and Frank Reich gets fired as the head coach without having good players around. Like, players win games. I'm not saying Frank Reich is... There's no accountability that needs to be taken with Frank Reich. He needs to be told, hey, next year it has to be better. When we get you some help, it has to be better. But the Panthers are awful. They have bad players. Like, not saying all the players are bad, but in aggregate, the Panthers are one of the worst teams. There is not an amount of witchcraft, wizardry, or experiments that somebody can do to be able to make the Panthers a playoff team. I know it's been ugly. It's been tough, but that's what happens when you're in this building process. Are you just expecting somebody to come in without the personnel? That's like saying, all right, hey, guess what? Here's a butter knife. They have a machine gun. Go win the war. Like that, it just doesn't work like that. You have to have some sort of patience. And if Frank Reich doesn't do it after the second year, then fire him. I just feel like this is spinning on the hamster wheel. I don't understand why you do this.
So what's going to happen moving forward now? Because they gave up so much to get Bryce Young. Mm-hmm. The Panthers did.
Well, I think it was the right choice. And the worst thing that happened to Frank and the Panthers organization was what the Texans are doing.
I agree.
Right? That's what kills them.
It's an optics thing.
Yeah, it really is. And I think they really didn't have an identity on offense. And I think that hurt them throughout the year, and it switched up each game. So the real question is now, who do you replace him with? And I think a couple of names, and one name I'm looking at right now is Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator from the Lions.
Yeah.
I think what he's done with those guys, I think they've drafted well, of course, especially up front. But what he's done with those guys, with Jared Goff and this offense, is taken to another level. I mean, we're sitting there with the Lions. I believe they're 8-3, and actually have a chance to run deep in the playoffs. So I think there's hope at the Panthers. I think you have to draft well. That's where it starts. All right, Tepper, their GM or whoever it is, owner. You have to get people around who know how to win. Right, I really do, and that you can reach as far as you want. All right, I'm looking. If it's me and I'm in the NFL, I'm trying to copy everything the 49ers do. That is what I'm trying to do. All right, and if you can do that, if you can find that script, if you can find that blueprint and get the right guys in there, I'm not worried. I'm not worried about Bryce Young. I'm not. I've seen it. Okay, I've seen it. I know this kid is talented. I know he's going to be a good player.
Offensive line.
But that's where it starts. Adam Thielen shouldn't be your best receiver.
No.
Okay, and Adam Thielen he's a great player, but he's later in his career, right? He doesn't have many years left. Like, you need young, vibrant pieces like the what? Like the Texans, like a Tank Dell, like a Nico Collins, like these guys that can go and get it, a new coach, a new flavor, the Febreze brothers. Let's get it fresh in here with Ben Johnson.
If they end up having the number 1 pick, are they going to trade that so someone else can move up to get Caleb Williams and they can get some of the pieces back they lost trading up to get
It's your only move. It's your only move.
You don't go get Marvin Harrison Jr.?
I mean, again, that's great.
Couldn't you trade back to 3 with 2 teams who want to go get Caleb Williams and Drake May 1 and 2, though?
No, I don't think Marvin Harrison is not going to be there.
Well, here's the thing: that Marvin Harrison Jr. doesn't matter if you can't protect. Like, it doesn't matter. You could have the Mega Ranger outside. You could have a dragon. It's not going to matter. Like, if you can't block, you can't, number one, throw the ball because you can't pass protect, but then it hurts the passing game when you can't run the ball either. Like, to me, you've got to accumulate picks. This isn't a go get one person, now all of a sudden it's fixed. Mm-hmm. Like, this puzzle pieces, there's still a lot of pieces under the table that fell out of the box when you opened it before the Panthers even have a chance. Another name to think, Brian Johnson, offensive coordinator of Philadelphia Eagles, quarterback at Utah. Very, very, very talented up-and-coming coach in the NFL. You know, you heard about him maybe getting the head coaching job at Florida before Billy Napier got it, so I'll be interested to see that.
All right, well, let's talk about the Eagles quickly. They replaced both coordinators from that Super Bowl run a season ago. Another ugly game. The Bills looked like they had them beat late on Sunday. The Eagles find a way to win on the Jalen Hurts. I think it was a quarterback draw they ran at the end of the game there in overtime. Eagles now 10-1 after a 37-34 win over Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, the Bills are the Auburn of the NFL. Like, let's see how close we can come to winning and then lose it at the end. I mean, again, it just shows you it's in that similar thing. Like, yeah, the Eagles replaced two coordinators, but they still got that winning DNA, that core that they have. Like, the Eagles are never, if you watched as ugly as that game was early, and it was ugly for the Eagles. First three plays, Jalen Hurts threw the ball away. Like, it was ugly. Bills are moving it up and down. Josh Allen was running. It was working. Stephon Diggs was catching touchdown passes. But it's a four-quarter game. Winners find a way to win. Losers find a way to lose. The Eagles, outside of the Super Bowl last year, which I know is a big deal, they find a way to win. But if you're the Bills, is this it for Sean McDermott? Like, is he done? Is the experience? The window's closing. Mm-hmm. Like this Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs combination with the pieces they got around him, and I hate it because I was really looking forward to the Bills and Chiefs again. Like, they changed the rules of overtime because of that game, but I don't think we're going to see it. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs.
Talking about a window closing, that brings me to the Chargers. Lost to the Ravens. Ravens now 9-3. Chargers 4-7. The Chargers have a worse record than their crosstown rival, the Rams, who are still trying to rebuild things from their Super Bowl winning year. And they have the same record as the New York Giants, who have a third-string quarterback.
Staley's gone, right? Well, I mean, Blaine, you keep up with this.
I mean, why is he still there?
I don't know.
That's the question.
That's
for what reason? I mean, and first of all, you're going to get asked hurt in press conferences about you doing your job. Right? You're a defensive guy. You're supposed to coach the defense, and the defense has been nothing but a letdown since you've got to the Chargers.
The first play on Sunday, the defense ran 12 guys out there.
Yeah, so like I don't.
Indicative thing.
If you're the Chargers, if you're the Chargers organization, why is he still here? Like, what are you waiting for? You got a guy at quarterback. All right, Justin Herbert is that good. Keenan Allen's not getting any younger, right? And Keenan Allen's one of the top 5, top 6 receivers in the NFL. Right, you have Austin Eckler is not getting any younger. You have enough pieces. Derwin James, and you've had guys on this defense who've shown up. Bosa has to get healthy. Khalil Mack's not getting any younger. So you have pieces to run and actually make a run to actually win something important. What's the one thing standing in the way, it feels like? And that's your head coach. All right. And there's enough young guys in this league who can come in and win at the Chargers. So I don't know why he's still there on Sunday.
Well, they make the same mistakes defensively over and over and over and over. That's the thing that drives you nuts.
Just the last one was kind of an ugly game last night. Bears hold on to beat the Vikings 12-10. It sounds like the Vikings are on the fence whether or not to stick with Josh Dobbs moving forward.
Man, this is such a tough situation. I mean, you got Kirk Cousins waiting in the wings. How's he going to be after that Achilles injury? He's just hanging out at TJ Maxx and reading Nicholas Sparks books. But I don't think Josh Dobbs is a long-term answer. I think Josh Dobbs has been he's kind of had his Jeremy Lin moment a little bit, a little bit of Lin sanity, Dobbs sanity in the NFL, which is great. I think he's always going to be a viable backup. I think he may go to teams that are in transitory periods before they get their next quarterback, which I know Josh loves football, and he's obviously good enough to be able to somewhat absorb a playbook in like 3 days. We saw he did a couple weeks ago. It was amazing. And it's a really good story, but I don't think he's a long-term answer for anybody.
Yeah,
I agree. I think Josh Dobbs is Flex Seal. It's what it is.
Yeah.
He can just come in and fix a problem. Josh will be a good backup in the league. First of all, let's go and give kudos to Josh. He's had he's done a hell of a job for multiple teams, especially just taking in a playbook after 3 days and not even knowing guys' names on the team. So, I mean, not a great game yesterday. But look, if you're the Bears, a win's a win. All right? A win's a win. So good for Chicago. Good for these guys. The Vikings are going to be okay. I just don't think Josh Dobbs will be the long-term answer for them.
All right, we're going to get the phone lines are open. We're going to get to it. I promise if you call in and it's on hold, when we take a call, it'll open up a line. But I want to tell you, speaking about elevating your game, speaking about coming in off the bench and making a play, if you're tired of wasting your money on testosterone booster products that don't work, I don't blame you. All right, nobody's upset about it. We get it. But that's why our sponsor, Nugenix Total T, lets you try before you buy on their supply. Get a complimentary sample when you text 231-231 and you enter keyword Crain. That's C-R-A-I-N. It's 231-231. Enter keyword Crain. Look, I'm getting older. I'm about halfway through 30 when we're talking about levels, right? We don't go by age, we go by levels here. You have less energy than you used to. There's a natural loss of testosterone, right? Just like you have a lot when you're younger, you lose it when you get older. And we decided to do something about it. Blaine's taken it as well, gotten absolutely great results from it. Jacked and tan and more energized. You feel more like yourself. You're ready to wake up and attack the day. I promise you this works. And it's not something to be ashamed of, right? Everybody's testosterone goes down, right? So with Nugenix, you can get back to feeling younger, and you get a complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T when you text 231-231 and enter keyword Crain, that's C-R-A-I-N. Text now and get a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, their newest and most powerful fat incinerator ever, with key ingredients to help you lose fat fast and get lean even faster. Absolutely free. That's 231-231. Enter that keyword Crain, C-R-A-I-N. Remember, texting enrolls you in recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rate supply. It's doctor recommended by an independent survey conducted by IQVIA in 2022. All right, before we get to calls real quick, what are some of the best bets? Not as many games on the board this weekend, fellas. It's Conference Championship week. Looking around, we talked about some of them earlier. One that I like, I am absolutely in love with this Liberty, New Mexico State over 54.5.
You like that one?
I love it. Liberty with Caden Salter. It's a lot of fun to watch this offense. Jamie Chadwell's done a hell of a job. You've been hearing his name a lot. I love the over at 54.5. I think New Mexico State was plus 11.5. It's now down to minus 10. I'm a little bit nervy on the sides because Liberty can get really hot. New Mexico State, the way they played at the end of the year, they beat Auburn's ass to death in Jordan-Hare. I'm going to take that over at 54.5. I think it's one of the best bets on the board all weekend.
I like the over, too, and the way New Mexico State finished down the stretch, I mean, I'll take them with 10 points. Even though Liberty undefeated, I would take them to win the football game.
I am laddering every chance I get for this Michigan football game. How
are you going to do it?
Well, first I'm going to do this. I'm going to take them in the first half. All right, I believe the spread is 12.5. Okay, and this will be live bet throughout the game. So once it's 23.5 right now. So I will be taking this 23.5. Once Michigan comes out in the first drive and scores, that spread will change. Whatever that spread changes into, I will be taking that spread. It's like almost when you go back to the Georgia-TCU game in the national championship. One, I'd bet Georgia most of the time to score on each of their drives on offense. That hit. And each time Georgia scores, the spread changes live. So whatever it changes to, you take that. And you keep taking that the more the game goes on. The spread will go up, because I believe Michigan will keep scoring points. I think this game might be 40+ something to nothing. I really do. I think it's going to be that bad. So if it's me, I will be laddering everything. I will be surrounding this Michigan-Iowa game because it's not going to be
I'll probably be right there with you.
I don't think Iowa's going to score. They might get a field goal if they're lucky, if Michigan turns the ball over on their own side of the field. So I love Michigan minus 23.5.
I love to hear you say that. I like Washington plus 9.5. I mean, an undefeated Power 5 team in a rematch game. It may go there by itself. I mean, it started at 9. It's up to 9.5.
This game's Friday.
This game is Friday. Yeah, this game's Friday. Look, Washington undefeated in a rematch game. I think this Oregon team is really, really good, but I'll take Washington with 9.5 points. The question I have is 66.5.
That's what I was just about to ask. I mean, I think you got to take it.
You have to take the over, I think.
Right? It was 36-33 last game. You had a couple drives that should have resulted in points. You do look at Oregon's defense. You look at Washington's defense, the way they're stepping up in the second half. I just feel like in a game where you have two quarterbacks that are veteran, that are experienced, that are battling pretty much for the Heisman. If you don't believe Jane Daniels is going to get it or you believe they have a chance, they're going to try and make the most of this opportunity. Obviously, Bo Nix runs a little bit better than Michael Penix, but Michael Penix can run. He's not, a statue back there. I just think if you're gonna take the total, you've got to take the over. The money's on the over right now. It's at minus 112 for over 66.5. It's at minus 108 for the under. I tell you another one I'm looking at, fellas, that's going to be a little bit sneaky. We talked about Oklahoma State, Texas. Do I let this Toledo, Miami, Ohio side try? It's at 7.5 right now. Toledo's a 7.5-point favorite. Miami, Ohio, I don't trust them to be able to score on this Toledo defense. I may buy this bad boy down to 6.5 and take the Rockets.
And that's a rematch we saw earlier in the year. And remember, Toledo won that game by 4, and that was on the road at Miami of Ohio. Yep. So I like that bet. Even if you wanted to let it ride at the full touchdown that it's at.
SMU Tulane over 48. SMU's it's been a Globetrotters game for Rhett Lashley and them lately.
Yeah.
I know the defenses they've played haven't been fantastic. Tulane been a little bit slow and defunct offensively with Michael Pratt. I'm not saying it's been like that the whole year, but I've watched them the past couple weeks. It just hadn't looked super fluid. This SMU defense isn't great. SMU's sitting there at plus 5.5. Man, I don't think it'd be crazy, boys, with the way that Preston Stone is playing. Plus 180, SMU on the money line. I don't think that'd be crazy at all. If you're
How
going to
about the over 48?
I mean, again, it's just I feel like Tulane, even though they haven't been super consistent offensively, can score a lot on this SMU defense. I don't know. I just keep going back to, and I know we're going to get to Georgia and Bama, the spread on that in a second, but I don't know. I just keep going back to the way that SMU's playing. I think taking them plus 5.5 or maybe letting that thing bleed a little bit, see if it'll get bet up. Because people look at this matchup and they're like, oh, Tulane. Willie Fritz and them have been running the conference. Mm-hmm. They're going to win it. They've been dominating. They handled UTSA last week. And I'm telling you right now, boys, this SMU game is sitting a walk in the park. That and Louisville money line, I'm telling you.
Louisville money line right now is plus 114, and they're getting 2.5 points. Over-under in that one against Florida State is 48.5. Remember, Florida State's playing with their backup quarterback. The Alabama getting 6 points to me is fascinating.
Yeah,
the line opened at 3 before the Iron Bowl and before Georgia played Georgia Tech. I mean, I'll take Nick Saban with 6 points all day, even though Georgia has looked fairly unbeatable. The way Alabama looked down the stretch of the season, almost a full touchdown there on their hook.
I just hate the number 6. I hate 6, and I hate 6.5. I want to see how that bad boy looks come Friday, but I'm looking at this over-under at 54.5. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I think Bama can score against Georgia. I think Georgia can score against Bama. I could legitimately see this game being a 37-30 game or a 34-31 game with the total in the 60s, Blaine.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I would buy Alabama up to 7.5, and I would feel so comfortable about this bet. I mean, look, Georgia's a great football team, so is Alabama. How many times has Kirby beat Nick Saban in Atlanta?
Yeah.
Nick Saban's never lost in Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Yeah, that's
I was told yesterday.
And I got a touchdown cover for that. I mean, that's, for me, it's almost free money.
Well, do you wait to see if it goes up, or do you go ahead and take it now because you think it's going down?
Here's the odds on Alabama plus 7.5 is minus 149.
Okay.
You wanted to buy that.
Not bad. Not bad. This game started at 4, or this game
started at 3.
At 3. So
a week ago.
It's already up to 6. All right. So, I mean, there's a high chance that this game does get to 7. All right. So if it's me,
if it gets to 7.
I am waiting. I don't think this game will get bet down. More than this, I am waiting if this gets up to 7, or even if the public starts switching their bets a little bit, but it doesn't change. But the alternate spread change, the odds change on the alt spread. Maybe come down to a minus 120, maybe a minus 125, minus 130.
I want to see if I were to take the over in the Liberty game, if I were to take Washington plus 9.5, Texas on the money line, Toledo on the money line, Boise on the money line, the Georgia-Bama over. I'm putting together a parlay right here on the fly. SMU plus 5.5. I'm not touching Troy App State. I'm not touching that game. I've coached in the Sun Belt. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it at all. I wouldn't touch the Louisville-Florida State game, honestly, if I'm building this parlay. If I took the over in the Michigan game at 35.5, that would give me a parlay of plus 6,930.
Wow.
That's a nice little parlay to
sneak peek Crain-Pythagorean theorem?
I don't know. It may be. Well, we're going to push that bad boy out on Thursday. This one's going to hit. By the way, my wife hit another $400 last weekend. It's incredible. I'm the best recruiter ever. The best recruiter ever. But, all right, let's get to the phone calls.
All right, let's go. We got Devil Doc on the line in Indiana. I believe he tried to call in yesterday. Devil Doc, how you doing?
Hey, guys. How you doing today?
What's up, man?
All right, so first off, I'm calling in because I want to give my predictions for the 4-team playoff.
Mm-hmm.
But something I'd like to say first, it's not that I disagree with Jake, But I do think there would have been a logical argument for if Louisville beats Kentucky and I think there would have been a logical argument because
if they beat Kentucky,
some good wins.
yes, but they didn't. So now you're Audi 5.
I know, right? Exactly. And I drive an Audi 6, so it's close enough.
Wow, nice. That Audi 6, that's high class.
Yeah. So my thing is, number one, obviously, it's going to be the undefeated Big Ten champion. It's going to be Michigan.
Yep.
The way they're playing. I watched them play Ohio State. I thought the game was great. I didn't expect it to be I didn't expect it to be them trouncing them, but I thought they played good beginning to end. There was a couple plays I really didn't understand, but that's part of the game.
Yep.
Number two, it's going to be Washington. I think that I know a lot of people are down it, but I think Washington's going to go in there. I think they're going to handle business. I just think that what Oregon's done this year, it's going to be a game. I think that's going to be the best game this weekend, me personally. I don't see it. Besides Georgia, Alabama, I think that's going to be the game to watch.
That's a logical argument, 100%.
I think Washington pulls it off kind of like last game. It's going to be a last-second field goal. It's going to be a last-second score. I think realistically, whoever has the ball last wins. I just think it's going to be Washington.
That's what this game's been. That's what it's been.
So this is where it gets a little tricky. Louisville's mad. They're going to play spoiler. I think my number 3 seed is going to be Texas.
Okay.
I think Texas wins, and with that one loss, they're going to have the whatever it's called over Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
So here's where I think that this is what the committee is going to do. I think it's stupid, but this is what I think is going to end up happening. I think that the 4 seed is going to be a team that did not play in the conference. I think they're going to give Ohio State the 4 seed.
Really?
The reason I say that is...
Wow. Okay, so you got Alabama beating Georgia then, right?
Yes, I have Alabama. I think, man, the way Alabama's playing, and you got the Wizard of Waverly Place as the head coach, it's really hard to... I just can't... both teams are playing good. Like you guys just said, Nick Saban's undefeated in that arena. I think Alabama, the way they're playing, they're going out for blood. They're going to take them down.
So let me ask you this. You think that Ohio State, who's ranked 6 right now, Bama's at 8, Texas is at 7. So it's Ohio State 6, Texas 7, Bama 8. If Bama beats Georgia, who's the number 1 team in the country, I understand them putting Texas in over Alabama, obviously. But you think they put Ohio State in, who didn't even win their division, even though that loss at Michigan's a great loss, over an Alabama team that's 12-1 with Nick Saban maybe possibly in his swan song that just beat Georgia in the SEC championship? You talk about there being a lot of pissed off people below the Mason-Dixon line.
Rightly so.
That would be a hell of a quandary, my friend.
It would, and the only reason I say that is just the way – it's really just kind of a guess because of the committee, because to be honest, they're going to – if Florida State beats Louisville, they got to be in. I don't care that they don't have their quarterback. You beat LSU. You're either going to make you're either going to keep the precedent of the regular season matters, or you're going to throw it out the window. And I think if they throw that head-to-head out the window, like regular season doesn't matter, I think there's going to be complete chaos in college football. I agree. We're going to a 35-team playoff.
I agree with that 100%. I agree. I don't think you can do it.
Look at the regular season.
Yeah, I agree, Double Doc.
You have to look at the regular season.
I think it's a good point.
The only reason that I think that Ohio State, if you look at the regular season, Alabama's playing great ball. Ohio State, their only loss would have been, I know that Alabama would have technically the better win over Georgia in the conference championship, but Ohio State's one loss is a close loss. Really, I didn't really feel like the game was over until it was over. That Michigan-Ohio State game was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think that you losing to a Michigan team on the road in my opinion, besides Jordan Hare, which, you go to Auburn, you're going to have a time regardless. And LSU, that's one of the hardest stadiums to win at.
I agree.
Michigan, they come out and there was times I've seen the offense having to tell them to calm down because, the noise, it's a great place to play. I just feel like me personally, I think Ohio State's resume, I love their resume. I hate Ohio State with a passion. My dad's an Ohio State fan, and I think that he needs to get his head checked for that, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, Double Dot.
I like Ohio State's resume, so that's what I picked.
No, it's going to be an interesting quandary at the end of the year if it goes down like that. We'll see.
That interesting.
I'm with him. The regular season has to matter, though.
Jack in Mobile. Jack, how you doing?
Hey, guys. Good morning.
What's up, man?
Well, it's been a long 72, 48 hours, whatever. But y'all say all the time, two things can be true at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hurt, but I'm also extremely encouraged. I think we're going to get roughly 60% of the 5-star level talent that was there.
Yep.
And the future is bright, and it's freezing cold for Auburn right now.
Yeah, no, look, I think you're going to get a lot of reward from that game being as good as it was. And you can always tell the recruits, listen, that last play, if we had you at DB, you're making that play, right? Those plays at the goal line, that punt, you're catching that punt, right? 5-star. Hey, you're a guy we can throw it up to, and we'll be the ones making that big play in the back of the end zone because it comes down to players, right? It comes down to players. So I agree with that. It was a great showing, but at the end of the day, it does hurt, right? It does hurt because being able to show that you can win that game in year one, I think is even more helpful, but it's a lot different than getting just blown out and recruits being like, oh my God, they're 2-3 years away. We talk about the Panthers not having the players. It shows you Auburn's close. They played Georgia close, played Alabama close. You just got to get the guys in that can get you over that hump. You got to get the guys that can go win that game in there. And that's what you hope to do if you're Hugh Freeze, and I think he can do it.
Yep.
Absolutely. And
appreciate it, Jack.
Georgia and Alabama, yeah.
Go ahead.
The talent gap is there, but yeah, it's closing.
For sure. And I mean, Hugh Freeze and them, they were able to he was able to put up a fight with a hand tied behind his back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we're going to be honest, just is what it is. But keep the faith, Jack. Keep the faith, especially down there in Mobtown when you're literally surrounded.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for calling in, Jack.
Hey, Jack.
Appreciate it, man. All right, let's go to Austin, also in Alabama. Austin, how you doing?
What's going on? The biggest Duck fan is back from Bama.
What's up, dog?
Hey.
Wanted to give my playoff predictions and talk about the Oregon-Washington real quick.
Go ahead.
So I think my playoff prediction is going to be Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Oregon 3, Texas 4.
Man, I think you nailed it, dog.
That's a good one.
I think here's the question. So are you saying that with Florida State losing? Like, do you have Florida State losing to Louisville?
Yes.
Okay. Then I think you nailed it. If you have Florida State losing, to me, that's it. That's it. Now, the question becomes if Florida State wins.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's going to get really wonky is if Florida State wins, Oregon wins, Texas wins, and Georgia wins.
Yeah.
Georgia's obviously in there at 1. Michigan's in there at 2. You got to have Florida State in there. I don't care what anybody, I don't care who's hurt. Florida State's going to be, and right now, if that happens, Florida State would be in there at 3. And guess what? Oregon is at 5 and Texas is at 7. So you would legitimately probably have Georgia at 1, Michigan at 2, FSU at 3, Oregon at 4. You'd have Texas and Bama. Can you imagine those two brands missing out? Texas and Bama of the college football playoff? But, I mean, what do you change? Do you sit here and say, okay, well, we move Oregon above Florida State? Well, then Oregon's 3 and Florida State's 4. That's probably what they do. Say, go ahead and get Georgia just to beat Florida State to death in that first game, right? I don't know how you get around that if it goes down like that.
I just don't see it going chalk this weekend. If it does, it's still possible to have 4 undefeated teams
and then
in the 4 spots,
the work's done
which
for
we've
you.
never seen either. So.
No, the work's done for you.
But Austin, how do you feel about this Oregon-Washington matchup, and what do you think about the 9.5 points right now on the spread?
Me personally, in a rivalry game, I am an Oregon fan. That's a lot of points. A lot of points. But my thing is, if you look at the last game, you can argue about going for it on 4th down or kicking field goals, whatever. When I was watching it, what bothered me was, if you look at Oregon all season, they were throwing to 3 different wide receivers. But against Washington, they only targeted Troy. And Troy's our guy. but I think you have to get Tez involved and Trayshawn Holden involved. We got multiple targets like Washington. That's what bothered me the most.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, everybody talks about Washington's wide receiver core. I mean, like you brought up, Oregon's didn't want to shake a stick at either. You know, I mean, I'm sitting here and I've got the box score pulled up. You know, you look at receiving, you did have Troy Franklin had 8 receptions. Tez did have 7, right? You had Terrence Ferguson with 5, Bucky Irving with 6 out of the backfield. You know, I thought they spread it around a decent amount. By the way, is Patrick Herbert related to Justin? I just want to throw that out there.
I don't know.
Younger brother.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Sense.
But again, I think that game, Austin, was so close. It did come down to those decisions. I mean, you look at the numbers. I mean, good God Almighty, they're basically even, brother. Like it's.
I know it's an even game, yes. But if I had to think that would give Oregon the edge this go around, you might need to throw it to Bucky more.
Well, here's the thing. I don't know if it's the amount, it's when you throw it to him, right? Like every third and long, are you just going to one guy? Mm-hmm. Are you that predictable on third down? That's what makes it. You want to know what would scare me to death about playing Georgia? They can throw it to 9 different guys on third down. Like, who do you double?
Yeah.
Like what do you do? I mean, especially if Lad's healthy and Ra-Ra's out there and Dominic's out there and Brock's out there. Hell, out of the backfield with Kendall Milton. I mean, it's again the best utility when it comes to football is versatility and versatility on third down. So Austin, that's why I think this matchup, and obviously Georgia and Alabama speaks for itself. I don't have to sit here and go into a diatribe about why I'm excited about that game, but that's why this matchup to me is so fascinating because I mean, it's going to come down to one possession. That's why the 9.5, David, I can't believe it.
Another reason for it is, and I think Blaine and I were talking about this at one point, maybe even on Sunday, is if Washington does find themselves down, they can still play their offense, right? They can still play their 100%. Style of football because throwing it around the yard with an NFL quarterback and 3 NFL wideouts is what their MO is anyway, right? They want to pass to run. It's like very few NFL teams have 2 elite corners, right? Elite corners. Almost no college teams have 2 elite corners. So if you can run 3 guys out there at wide receiver, this is how I think the Buckeyes have beaten people for a long, long time. You can run 3 guys out there who are elite wide receivers. It's hard to cover them. So is Oregon going to be able to, maximize their defensive efficiency on the back end to shut that down and force Washington to run the football more, especially in the first half, first 3 quarters, something like that. Yeah. So they're not just slinging it around.
Well, you got to take some away. You gave up a 100-yard rusher to Washington, which that's not their bag, baby. I swear it's not mine. Right?
And the game's on turf. So if anything,
that's why I like the over. That's why I like it.
To over. And 2, there's something about being a quarterback receivers running on turf, man. It's just a lot easier to get in and out of your breaks. You can cut easier. So look, running the ball is one thing, but if I'm Washington, I'm sticking to my bread and butter. All right. I want to lose with my best players with their football in their hands. And that's your receiver who's going to be a top 10 pick, and that's your quarterback. So I'm going to be throwing it around the yard. You can flip it on the other side. And if you're Oregon, look, man, I'm sitting on the ball. I am. As much as I can keep it out of Michael Penix's hands, the better. So they want a time of possession in the first game too, but they need to win it by more, I think. And I think that'll be Oregon's game plan walking into that.
Hey, Austin, make sure you call in next week, man, so we can talk about this game.
Oh, well, and one quick thing. You know what's crazy? A hypothetical scenario that can happen? Bo has never beat Georgia, right?
Yeah.
Would it be crazy if last year in college football he plays Georgia in the Natty and beats them his very last year?
I know, right? I mean, shoot, especially after what happened last year.
I don't know if Bo's ever beat a top 10 team in his career.
Really?
Didn't he beat Bama?
I don't think they were top 10.
You don't think they were top 10? What about Oregon when he was at Auburn? Oregon wasn't top 10 as a freshman?
That was an opener, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think they were.
I can't remember that.
We'll have to look into that. That's a good stat.
Yeah, but I'll see y'all, boys.
All right, have a good day, man.
All right, let's go to Kirk in Canada. Kirk, how you doing?
Kirky.
Hey, gentlemen.
What's up, man?
There we go. Listen, I went with some friends to the Christmas parade, passed out 1,000 gospel tracts at the Christmas parade in Moncton, and came home and watched on PBR Michigan versus Ohio State.
Yeah. On PBR.
What a game. Oh, man.
I know.
Listen, two things I wanted to say real quick here. Number one, you guys got to get Steve Dace on more. That guy's awesome.
Yeah, Steve's great, man.
Football.
Yeah, he does.
We love. Yeah, he kicks it. He kills it every time. The second thing, I played offensive line when I was in high school. Unfortunately, the Bible college that I went to was tiny. We didn't have a football team. There's something about the camaraderie of the offensive line. I can't really explain it. But when that guy got carried off there, I forget his name, starts with a Z there.
Zenner.
Zach Zenter.
Sorry, Z. Yeah. When he got carried off, I turned to my buddy and I said, this game's over. I said,
next
Michigan
play.
Offensive line.
Yeah.
I said, the Michigan offensive line is going to win this game for him. Mm-hmm. And the next snap, Corum goes, 22 yards or something like that?
Yeah, that hole opened up. It was like Moses put his staff down. Like it just parted the sea.
I just, it was the weirdest thing. There's something, don't get me wrong, if the quarterback had gone down, that'd be terrible. If if their best, if Corum goes down, that'd be awful. But to see that guy go down there and the way he went down and the reaction and the tears and the seriousness of the injury, I said, there's no way Michigan's going to lose.
Jim Harbaugh went and met him and his family at the hospital, so he could be there when he got out of surgery.
Well, you can tell this Michigan team's unbelievably close. They're unbelievably
that doesn't
close.
surprise me at all.
What did
my high school?
Kirk? What'd you think about the trailer?
I watched it twice and laughed harder the second time.
I know, man. I kept seeing things like I didn't realize the time before.
Oh, that was we were all wondering, like, why did those guys miss all that time? And now we know the answer. No,
yeah, that was a hard secret to keep. I'm going to be honest. That was tough.
I'm proud of us.
Definitely. But real quick, though, what are the Flyers looking like? Don't think we forgot, Kirk. Every time you call in.
Oh, look at the time. I got to go.
11 the Flyers 11-9. The Leafs 10-6.
It's weird. It's just awfully quiet. It's like after Michigan beat Ohio State, I didn't see a lot about stealing signs on Twitter.
23
anymore. We're 11-9.
23 points.
Yeah, it's.
You know what? Here's what I'm worried about. You guys, I forgot that you guys have Coach John Tortorella. He's a Jack Adams winner. He won the Coach of the Year a few years ago, and I was like, they got torched.
Why do you think Blaine picked him? He's a big Tortorella guy.
Yeah. There's nothing like
his favorite pasta.
There's like a tortorella on a Thursday night.
That's exactly right. On a cold Thursday.
Appreciate it, Kurt.
Thursday.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, guys.
All right, have a good one. All right, got 3 more callers. I will get to them all. Smoking Gator in Tampa. How you doing?
Tampa, Katie.
Tampa.
Good morning, Crain Company. How's everybody doing?
What's up, dude? Man.
Y'all, let me tell you, this is probably the most depressed that I have ever been as a Gator football fan. And we've had terrible seasons before, but what makes this one especially gut-wrenching was just all the close calls that we had, right? You recall we were 5-2 at one point, literally just needed one more win, make the stop on 4th and 17, kick the field goal against Arkansas.
Yeah, 4th and 17.
We were so freaking close, and we just, couldn't capitalize. This is probably the first time that I've actually ever felt physically sick because of my football team. And I know people are going to say, oh, well, you've won national championships and you guys are still a national brand. You're not going to be down forever. And I get that. And I certainly don't expect people to feel sorry for us because, when we were on top of the world, Florida fans were arrogant as all get out. I'm not denying that. So I get it. But that doesn't take away, how painful it is. Just every single off season, you build up false hope, and then
for sure,
reality just sets in, and you're just like, well. But guys, you know what? Whether we go 5-7 or 12-0 or 0-12, 2-10, 7-5, whatever, it doesn't matter what the record is. I love this team so freaking much with every fiber of my being, and no matter how bad it gets, no matter how low the valley is, I cannot imagine my life without Florida football. And things may suck right now, but you know what? we got to grind out the lows right now, because when we finally reach the mountaintop again, then everything, all the crap we're going through, will be worth it. It'll be so worth it.
Here,
Hell
man.
yeah, dude.
Love to hear that.
Hell yeah.
Good mic drop right there.
That's incredible, man.
Yep.
Well, hey, keep calling in, man.
Keep fighting the fight.
Back to the
You
mountaintop.
might love the players, but
Could be worse. Look at Texas
Do you
A&M.
love the coach? That's the real question.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Appreciate it, Smoking Gator. All right, let's go to Ben in Missouri. Ben, how are you?
Good morning, Crain and Company. Having some smoking hog over the Thanksgiving holiday.
There you go, Bubba. I see ya.
Dandelion nettle blend.
That's right. And in the wake of that, of course, everyone's saying that we don't belong in the SEC. That narrative has finally been put to bed.
Yes.
It has been put to bed. But I was in a Facebook group. I'm in a Facebook group that's exclusively to the Southeastern Conference here. And I've heard some Ole Miss fans chipping about how, they deserve a New Year's Six bowl over Mizzou, and how maybe Mizzou will get left out of the New Year's Six conversation entirely. And that could happen, if Iowa wins and Louisville wins, because you'd think that with big brands, Michigan, if they were out of the playoff, they would certainly get a New Year's Six, and then Florida State would get a New Year's Six over Mizzou. But you'd think, my question is, if Mizzou does go to a New Year's Six, and I think they will, which New Year's Six would we play, or what school do you think would be the best matchup for Mizzou to see, game wise?
Love them to play Penn State, man.
Yeah, that would be, you'd kind of have two conflicting identities going at each other, and obviously Luther Burden and them are sophomores, so he's going to play. Here's what I would say: it's hard to argue against Ole Miss's 2 losses at 10-2, right? At Georgia.
That's right.
Against Bama, those are 2
You play Georgia better though.
really good losses.
Missouri did.
Yeah, but Missouri also lost to LSU, which again, LSU's no pushover. That was a hell of a game. Should have won the game. I mean, you're up 22-7.
Yeah,
that ended up being wild. But I think when you look at potential matchups, I think both are deserving, right? When you look at both being out of the SEC, I think there's so many similarities when you look at both of these teams, right? Even with what's coming back. I mean, technically, outside of quarterback, your best position player is coming back. And I know people can make the argument for Schrader over Luther Burden. I agree with that, but I would take Luther Burden in the long run. And Quinshon Judkins, obviously, with Ole Miss. To me, I would love to see Missouri go up against another high-powered offense. I know Penn State, that'd be fun. It's just Drew Allen in that offense, it's so anemic. There's a reason they fired the OC. I would love to see them against an up-tempo, high-flying offense. Maybe if Washington,
the loser of the Pac-12,
if you had if Washington lost to Oregon or Oregon lost to Washington.
How about Oklahoma?
I think that'd be great.
How about Texas?
Oklahoma, Texas.
I just think I would love to see the Missouri offense operating at full speed on turf against another offensive-heavy team operating full speed on turf. I'll take that. And I'm a defensive guy.
Just don't be Tulane.
I don't know. Tulane, that game last year against USC is one of the best bowl games there was.
I want Missouri to play someone with just, with that prestige behind them.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out the bowl matchup soon enough.
I don't know.
So
if I'm Missouri, I just want to play in a New Year's Six. I could give a damn if it's against Tulane or if it's against Bama. I just want to play in a
exactly
New Year's
right.
Six.
Hell, we could just play Ole Miss
prestige.
Yeah,
Missouri's building that prestige. Yeah, y'all
play Ole Miss and settle it. I love it. Appreciate it, Ben. All right, let's go to Chase, our last caller. Hey, we got 30 seconds here, Chase. How you doing, man?
What's going on, boys?
What's up?
A couple of things. I'll make them quick. I know I'm on the back end. First thing, mount up, gentlemen. That was awesome.
I know, right? We're so excited.
I don't have to tell you guys, but that's going to be great. Tip of the cap to you guys.
Thank you.
Tip of the cap. You guys are funny. You guys are great. Ideas are great. And I also want to say, too, said this when I showed my boy the trailer. It is a comedy, yes, and we are all going to be laughing. But I want everybody to think, just like Jeremy said in the description when he posted it on Twitter, this is a comedy, but the absurdity that this is actually going on in real life.
Oh, yeah.
It is not necessarily. It's not necessarily comedy.
Some people actually think
it's crazy. I love that you guys made this a comedy and that there's going to be people out there that are triggered by it. And I love that the people that aren't triggered are going to be sitting there going, it's dumbfounding that this is even a real thing.
Well, that's one of the reasons the whole movie got made.
You guys had the opportunity to make a movie about this. You know what I'm saying? You guys know I'm not clapping on you when I say that. But
no, it's I mean, it's
wild.
easy.
It's wild.
Yeah, it's so absurd that, like I said, it's a 99% issue. Like, there's people, I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, Tea Party, Green Party, House Party, doesn't matter. You can look at this and be like, this is the dumbest thing ever. You want to know how to find somebody that's either lying or just dumb? Find the people that think men should be playing in women's sports. To me, I mean, there you go. You're either lying to me or you're just, I don't know if you should have a driver's license, honestly. That's the way I feel about it.
I agree. All right, so I'm going to get to the reason I called really quick. Obviously, Oklahoma's looking for a new offensive coordinator. And I've been thinking on it for the last couple days, a bunch of names being tossed around. My two guys that I think I would want the most, I'm going to go with either Seth Luttrell or Jake mentioned him earlier. Give me Brennan Marion from UNLV.
Well, hell, I mean, Brennan may end up being a head coach for it said and done. He may not even be in the coordinator block anymore.
Yeah, I saw that a couple schools were looking at him as the head coach, and then I saw that Penn State and Oklahoma are the two that have reached out for him to come be their OC.
Yeah. Well, Penn State.
You talk about the go-go offense, boys.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if we had Gavin Sawchuk and Tawi Walker in the backfield at the same time? A little bit of a Joe Mixon, Samar J. Pirine flashback thing right there. One power, one speed.
Well, I wonder
the quarterback.
I wonder if you're Brent Venables, being a defensive guy, do you want another fast-paced offense that's going to, even if they do well, your defense is out in the field a lot? Or do you sit here and say, listen, our offense was kind of built like this. We don't have to go recruit a different style of player if we bring in this guy to what we have on the roster. It makes the continuity easier, and obviously it's working. Like, it's kind of the new age, it's like Dr. Evil says, I'm hip, I'm with it. Like, but can you imagine Penn State getting him? You talk about a total reversal of what you're doing. I mean, that'd be like going from...
Yeah, that's why I was going to say I wouldn't mind Seth Luttrell for what you just said, because Seth Luttrell's philosophy is not so much go-go. In fact, I watched a video of him back in 2014 when he was the Indiana OC talking about how his whole philosophy is based on, the RPO concept of if they're going to give you the numbers in the box, you're going to hit the slant route. And if they're not, you're going to take the run play.
It's a math problem.
Like we're gonna take what they give us. We're not gonna go outside the box for no reason.
No, without a doubt, Chase. It's going to be interesting. We'll see. Obviously, it's one thing to fire your OC. It's another one when he takes a SEC head coaching job. So obviously, Brent Venables is doing a good job bringing guys in on the offensive side of the ball. Anybody at Oklahoma complaining about offense, I don't understand. Please come over to this side. I would love to trade with you to have the offense that you guys have compared to what we had this past year. But Chase, thanks for calling, buddy.
Yep, talk to you guys soon. Have a good weekend.
See you, bud.
All right, let's get to bets and we'll get to donos. Here's what I got tonight, boys. Give me the Kentucky-Miami under 164. That's a lot of points.
Wow, you're going to take
That's
the under.
a lot of points. I know the money right now is on the over. I believe it's at Kentucky. It may be a neutral site. I need to see if it's tournament. I don't think it's a tournament, though. And then give me South Carolina at home, -8 against Notre Dame. That's -110. South Carolina isn't great, but Notre Dame isn't good. So I'll take, give me South Carolina -8.
164 is a lot of points, but I'm hoping we see a shootout between Miami and Kentucky. I'm going to take over 164 -110, and then Marquette -30 -110.
All right, give me Miami +5.5. Look, I never like betting against Miami in basketball, especially what they do to Auburn every time we get in the NCAA tournament. They always just have some guys show up. Give me Purdue -30.5, I believe, against Texas Southern.
Oh, God.
I'm always going to bet that cave troll walking out and getting 40.
Your bet buds will baby cone. Purdue -30.5, and Georgia Southern +28.5 playing Michigan State.
On the road. Wow, what a weird game for you. What a weird combining of worlds.
Yeah.
Georgia Southern at Michigan State.
We're pulling for Southern.
The hometown versus the in-state rival in a weird geographical
baby cone knows.
situation.
He knows.
I'll get these donos. The main Crain, Blaine Crain. $5 donation. Appreciate it, brother. And undefeated FSU has to be in playoff. Oak State beats UT or beats Oregon beats UW. FSU beats Louisville. UGA beats Bama. Oregon, Georgia, Michigan, and FSU will be the Final Four.
Okay.
Do y'all agree?
Oh, I thought he was.
I was getting lost.
Yeah. Just the cadence you read that at threw me off. I don't agree wholeheartedly. I think you're 75% right. I will say 3 of my 4 playoff teams still hanging around, predicted before the year. Texas, Georgia, Michigan.
Mine too. Only LSU's out.
Yep, me too.
Still got Washington hanging on.
Yep.
Let's go to Larry Lease with the $5 donation. Appreciate it, Larry. It says Washington can win with the help of the Lady Ballers.
Yes.
I'll suit up and go out there.
Yes. By the way, I don't think McMillan played against Oregon. I don't think he played against Oregon.
I think you're right.
That's having him. That's another problem. Somebody else to cover.
Let's go to F3 Shake and Bake with the $10 donation. Still not the most masculine-looking girls basketball team I've ever seen. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't mean that as an insult to you fellas. So glad you are in this. Looks like you have a knack for comedy. Can't wait to see the movie.
It's going to be great.
All right, let's get to the poll. Who covers in this game? Oregon minus 9.5 or Washington plus 9.5?
I would say Washington like 75%.
95%.
Oh, Oregon minus 9.5, 53%.
Y'all crazy.
Washington
tight
47.
I think Oregon wins early. I like Washington to cover that, though. We appreciate you guys. Make sure you check out the Lady Ballers trailer if you hadn't seen it. It's dropping Friday, December 1st, 8 p.m. Eastern, only on Daily Wire Plus. So sign up. You can get half off for a limited time only. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We appreciate you guys. And just like us not being paid actors, we're going. Damn it, gone.